Doesn't really feel like summer today, but it will eventually. And with it comes the heat.
Meteorologist Christian Bridges is here to break down a rise in extremely hot days within the summer months. So tell us more, Christian.
Yeah, so over the past few decades, we have seen an increase in our summer temperatures in Maine, and that has led to an increase in the number of very hot days that we see during the summer. Kind of funny to be talking about this right now. This has not been a very hot start to our summer or meteorological summer so far, but over the past several decades, we've certainly seen this increase in very hot days in the summer. Again, it's forecast to be above average, so we'll probably continue to see this trend bringing us more hot weather days. So let's talk about what an extreme heat day is. These are days with the high temperature of 77 degrees or hotter and a climate shift level of 2 or higher. Kind of a little bit complicated, so let's break it down here. All of this comes from Climate Central, who make all these great graphics about the increasing temperatures that we've been seeing across Maine in the past several years. So here's what the Climate Shift Index looks like. Basically, it's just a measure of how much climate change has impacted any given temperature on any day. So I'm using last year as an example. We had a big heat wave in June. Portland saw a high of 94 on June 20th. That was a climate shift index of 3. So what that means is that hot day was made 3 times more likely due to climate change. It doesn't mean that that day couldn't have occurred without climate change. In fact, even that day did not even set a record. We were actually hotter back in the 1950s on that date. So again, it doesn't mean that these hot days wouldn't be occurring without climate change. It just means they're more likely now because temperatures as a whole or in general are running a bit warmer. So that's what the climate shift index means. And again, any day where we have a climate shift index of 2 or higher and that temperature is above 77 degrees, which is around our peak average high in the summertime, that is an extreme heat day for us in Maine. So here's a look at the nationwide trend here. The biggest change in these extremely hot summer days is across the south central US. In Texas, notice all those red dots there. They're seeing as many as 20 more days with extreme heat there. And of course, in Texas, an extremely hot day is a lot, hotter than an extremely hot day here in Maine. So that's temperatures, well into the 100-degree range. Here in Maine, this is temperatures well into the 80s or 90s for our extremely hot days. Again, we don't really see as many 100-degree days here in Maine, but we certainly have seen more of those 80s and 90s. In fact, just a couple years ago, we had the record longest streak of 80-degree days in a row. I believe it was 22 in a row in Portland. That just smashed the record of about 12 days, I think, for most 90 or 80-degree days in a row. So we're seeing this increase in those very warm temperatures, and you can see that trend here for Portland in the 2020s alone. So 2020 through last summer and 2024, just 5 years, we've seen as many as 10 more days with that climate shift of 2 or greater and a temperature of 77 or hotter. So again, starting to see more of these very hot days, and you can see that change from the 70s, 1980s, and 90s. Started in the 2000s, we really started to see more of these, and it looks like that trend has increased as we've headed into the 2020s. Same story in Bangor, although a little less of an extreme change there, seeing as many as 5 more of those very hot days in the Bangor area. So again, it doesn't mean that we wouldn't be getting these temperatures without climate change. It just means that they are more likely now because in general, temperatures are just running a bit warmer. And again, our summer outlook favors above normal temperatures. It has not felt that way recently, but again, as we head through the summer, we probably will end up with above average temperatures for June, July, and into August as well. So kind of an interesting trend, you guys. If you really like the heat, definitely a positive trend for you. I feel like a lot of times climate change can be portrayed in a very negative light, and it's definitely has a lot of negative effects, but in terms of our day-to-day effects, sometimes getting more hot days, I don't think too many people really complain about that. It just might make your power bill a little higher. Right. Might have to use the AC a little bit more, thinking about cooling down. Might be a few more of those really humid days where you're sweating a lot more.
I know, especially for Maine, I feel like a lot of people, we don't get the heat, like you said, like compared to Texas and things like that. So some people, they like the heat.
I love it. I'm itching for that really hot weher.
Yes,
yeah, beach weather.
Me too, you guys. I'm ready to be, sweating on a beach and baking in the sun. I'm ready for it.
I totally, all right, we're all on the same page.
We are all on the same page with that. So, take everything on a positive side, right? Even if it's not the most positive news for us.
Yes.
And if you've got any weather-related questions you'd like to ask our Weather Authority team, you can always email us at weather@wgme.com.